Alright guys, I'm back with another chapter in First Chronicles. We're in First Chronicles chapter 10, where the header reads, David becomes king over all of Israel, the death of King Saul. But before this, there's a little bit of a prelude that lets us know what the next 20 chapters are going to be in First Chronicles. And I'm going to go ahead and read that here in my study Bible. So, it says, the reign of David. David becomes king over all Israel and captures the city of Jerusalem. God promises blessings to him and the nation. But David is not allowed to build the temple. Instead, he begins to make preparations for its construction. Although stumbling and falling occasionally, David walks step by step with God, sincerely wanting to be obedient. Through David's successes and his failures, we learn the importance of giving our whole heart to God and letting him be the focus of our life, striving each day to be consistent in our obedience to his will. We're going to go ahead and jump right into chapter 10, guys. Now the Philistines attacked Israel, and the men of Israel fled before them. Many were slaughtered on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. The Philistines closed in on Saul and his sons, and they killed 3 of his sons, Jonathan, Abinadab, and Melchishua. The fighting grew very fierce around Saul, and the Philistine archers caught up with him and wounded him. Saul groaned to his armor-bearer, Take your sword and kill me before these pagan Philistines come to taunt and torture me. But his armor-bearer was afraid and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When his armor-bearer realized that Saul was dead, he fell on his own sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died there together, bringing his dynasty to an end. When all the Israelites in the Jezreel valley saw that their army had fled and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned their towns and fled. So the Philistines moved in and occupied their towns. The next day, when the Philistines went to strip the dead, they found the bodies of Saul and his sons on Mount Gilboa. So they stripped off Saul's armor and cut off his head. Then they proclaimed the good news of Saul's death before their idols and to the people throughout the land of Philistia. They placed his armor in the temple of their gods, and they fastened his head to the temple of Dagon. But when everyone in Jabesh Gilead heard about everything the Philistines had done to Saul, all their mighty warriors brought the bodies of Saul and his sons back to Jabesh. Then they buried their bones beneath the great tree at Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. So Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He failed to obey the Lord's command, and he even consulted a medium instead of asking the Lord for guidance. So the Lord killed him and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. And that's the end of chapter 10, guys. And so I like how the very end of this passage, what it kind of touched on. It's something very, very unique, an experience that I am just having a fierce undertaking. Where does it say? I want to make sure that I read it exactly how it's said. Because the issue with God right here, it's in the verse 13. So Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He failed to obey the Lord's command, and he even consulted a medium instead of asking the Lord for guidance. That consulting is such an interesting piece for me, because while I do my best to lead a good Christian life, try to be humble and loving and have all the fruits of the Spirit, all those things, I regularly fall short. That consulting one is I'm very sensitive to that, though, because in my life, there's many men and some women that I've had the opportunity to truly consult with, that I felt like were helping guiding me in a very faith-centered manner. And one thing that I tend to have difficulty realizing is when I lean on discussing things with them before I even discuss things with God. And I didn't become aware of that until just recently. It wasn't until just recently, 3 very strong men in my life have taken a step back or become unable to give me the counsel that I would typically look for. And it's interesting because I guess this is a selfish sense of my interpretation of what's happening. I feel like it's me being set aside, put on an island, I had my pastor who stepped down from his position in a very loving manner, but still felt like he's being called somewhere else. Um, my current superintendent who retired and left to go retire with his family, which is fantastic. And then my father is becoming increasingly ill, with an inability to um, do most things most days. And those three men, especially over the past year, had such a profound impact on not only my faith, but just every aspect of my life. And I can't help that, not that the impacts that those are having on their own individual lives, but how he uses those to prune me. Say, hey, I had these people here in your life to be those things for you. But you're not realizing that you're to take everything to me and that I'll send you what I need. I sent you people. I sent you uh, a restoration, a revitalization of all these things that you need in order to carry out the mission that I need from you. Or maybe not even need is the right word, that I want from you. And I can't help but feel that he's taken away all the other counsel that I have, and to where it's just him. And I think that that's for my good. I read the Bible, and seeing these things, I can't help but be drawn to that. It's like, okay, God, I'm listening. I see you. I hear you. I only need you. And that's painful because there's so many people that I plant my flag next to, and I guess I shouldn't say so many, but the people that I see, they've helped me put food on my table. They've helped me care for my family. They've helped me to become a better man to care for others outside of my family. And I'd be lying to say if there wasn't a handful of men and or women that still provide that for me, that where I can go to for counsel. But those three unique positions that I had were very much front and center of how I conduct myself as a man of faith, as a man that's a leader that's in charge of other people, and the outcome and hopefully the positive outcomes that I can help provide them, both personally and professionally, to the best of my ability. And I lost all of them within a span of 30 days. And that's crazy. That's crazy to happen. I mean, all cemented professionals and pastors and spent time in the pulpit and sharing faith, and my dad who's been there for forever, and within a span of 30 days it all gets turned upside down. And that's exceedingly frustrating. But I find myself here, God, I'm not going to stumble here. I didn't lose my ultimate consult. I still have you. And through that, what does that mean for me? Does that mean that I need to step up in these places that I feel that they're not present in my life? Do I need to take a step back and realize that, well, now it's time for you to understand to truly follow, or look to help find another leader, or become that leader that I'm supposed to be? I don't know. That's all up to God. But even in this short 14 verse passage here, 14 verses in chapter 10, I find myself thinking, man, now what do I do? Because for me, especially being a veteran, I find myself, it's easy to follow orders. It is. And when I have another leader, and I don't just mean Christ as my leader, because that is what I want to do for my whole life, but when I'm following someone else's commands here on earth, being in this world, that it brings me peace. It's easy to do that. But when you are the source, and I don't mean the ultimate source. Again, I try to do everything aligned, though he is the source. But when you have other people give you directives or directions, there's peace that can be had with that. There's a separation that you have, a fear of accountability almost, even as the greatest leaders. But once all the smoke and mirrors is gone, no, it's time for you to step up into your calling. I just think that maybe this is the season that I'm in. I don't know where that's gonna land me or end up. I know that wherever I'm at, I want to be uh, a vessel for God, and I want to serve and love people wherever I'm at and whatever I'm doing. But what are the odds that all those things happen all at once? Each one of those men that I just mentioned plays such a pivotal role in who I'm trying to become and what I'm trying to do. To lose all of them so fast has just left me befuddled, if you will. I will say this. I know he doesn't watch these videos, but I have a very close friend that I have leaned on outside of my church family that he doesn't realize, uh, even though we share the same faith, he doesn't see himself acting in a saint-like manner, I'll say that. And if he ends up ever hearing this video, he knows who I'm talking about. Um, but the way he acts is so he doesn't see how humble and how hardworking and the level of consistency I've had in a brother in him that he has been for me, that has made it easier to burden or shoulder some of these burdens. Now, I cast all my cares on God. Some I hold on to a little bit more. And even when I'm being selfish like that, not getting everything to God, God is still so great. He sends other people to help me let go, to help me breathe easier, to help me do those things. And it's so humbling to me that even when I'm not following everything that God says to the letter of the law, he sends that reassurance and says, I see you trying, and I see that you're really doing your best. So here, I understand, like a loving father would, and I just find myself to be at a loss of words sometimes. But on that note, have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll be back for chapter 11 in First Chronicles, where the header reads, David becomes king of all Israel. So have a good night. God bless, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.